This is Austin Real Estate Investing.
Austin Real Estate Investing.
We'll be discussing real estate investing in Austin, Texas, and bringing you experts from all different sectors of the real estate game. Your host, Jordan Moorhead, is a real estate agent and investor in Austin and is here to help you get started or to build your portfolio and explore new strategies.
This is Jordan Moorhead with the Austin Real Estate Investing Podcast. We have another great guest for you here today. We have Abigail Lipson with SmartEgg Properties, and she has a bunch of great tips she's going to give us on managing, maintaining, and keeping your properties fully rented with great tenants for a long time. Hey, Abigail, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, Jordan.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on here. Really quickly, before we get started in anything too real estate focused, what is your favorite restaurant here in Austin?
My favorite restaurant is Casa de Luz.
Oh, great restaurant. I've actually been there. So Casa de Luz, for anybody who's not been there, and correct me where I'm wrong, because I've only been there once to eat. Casa de Luz is a all organic vegan restaurant where they serve, you just really get a tray. They don't give you too many options, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's the meal of the day. You just walk up and they hand you a tray of the meal of the day, and it's macrobiotic and it is vegan. And so there's always sort of the same combination of different things on the plate. Like they change it up, but yeah. I love that restaurant. And it's magical. Like when you walk in, the whole,
oh my gosh,
environment there. It's like a little compound.
It's great. Yeah. Again, I said I've only been there once to eat. I've been there two further times for meetings. They have meeting rooms that they'll rent out. And Casa de Luz, after you eat their meal of the day, you feel so healthy and refreshed. It's like you said, it's kind of magical.
Yeah, completely.
So, cool experience. Everybody should try it at least once. Okay, Abigail, so can you really just quickly explain who you are and how you're involved with real estate investing?
Yeah, so I have a property management company called SmartEgg Properties. So we manage residential properties, so largely single family homes, but also duplexes, the occasional fourplex, condo units. I'm also a real estate investor myself. I own several duplexes. And so I've been doing this for 18 years, originally started actually both with a property management company that I kind of fell into it. And also when I got married in investing. And so that's something, all of those are things that I've continued with all this time.
Love it. I love duplexes. I have a few duplexes myself here in Austin, and that's how I got started investing in real estate. So you've lived in Austin the entire time you've been investing in real estate?
I've been in Austin for 20 years, and 18 of that has been in real estate.
Okay, that's awesome. So how did you choose to get started with duplex properties?
So as I mentioned, I really fell into property management. I used to be married and my ex-husband had started a property management company. And so I joined it that way, and he was an investor. And so a lot of what I learned in the early days was from him. And he had explained to me that, a duplex is a wise investment because it's typically cheaper per square foot than buying a single family home. Plus you're distributing your risk because it's not that likely that both units will be vacant at the same time. So you'll probably be making some income no matter what. The third duplex I bought was actually after I got divorced and I moved into one side. So,
yes.
I know you talk a lot about that, house hacking. And this is one of those ways, right? We're it's after divorce, it's kind of a tough time. And I'm I want to live as cheaply as possible. And so, I moved into one side, and then I still have that duplex. I don't live there anymore, though.
That's another way that it's so awesome about them too, because most of the time when you're buying them to live in, you're looking at it from the lens of what's it going to be like when I move out. So I had a house. We bought a house in February of 2023. We closed on a new house in February of 2024 to move into. And we sold the previous house. It was sort of a live-in flip. We didn't stay in it as long as we planned. But when we bought it, we didn't look at it at all of what's it going to be as a rental when we move out. We just said we're going to flip it. So come a year later, I actually wanted to keep it. I said, wow, this would be a great property to keep for a long time. But it didn't make sense as a rental. Duplexes are so much easier to make sense of as rental property, as a lot of the single family properties you'd want to live in Austin. It's really hard to make it work as a rental. It's not that duplexes are necessarily easy, but they're certainly easier. And for me personally, when I was going to look at duplexes, I'm saying, okay, what's it going to be like when I leave? So I'm already playing that movie in my head of, can it be a great rental property?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, so our focus, SmartEgg Properties' focus, is on helping women to be financially stable, independent, and successful through rental property ownership. And I focus on women because of my own particular experience. So after I got divorced, it was really hard. And, 50% or more, I don't know the exact number of people get divorced. And typically, I read one study that showed that men come out ahead in a divorce, like they have 30% more, and women come out behind. They have 20% less. And so for me at that time, I wasn't thinking about like what I'm going to do in the future with this home. This was what I could afford. And I knew that not only was the price of the home something I could afford, but it was going to help me to live as cheaply as possible by having my tenants paying for basically the mortgage. So it was literally, I was doing it because it's what I had to do at that time in order to succeed out of a divorce.
I mean, that's so smart. I mean, that's like the one of the simplest ways to look at how attacking a duplex is. It's going to allow me to reduce my expenses. There's so many other benefits, but I think that's probably one of the most powerful. Because a dollar saved is worth something like, even in Texas, $1.30 earned. So every dollar you save is so much more powerful than just that dollar saved. And so you talked about helping women become financially successful. And I know there's a huge movement of houses before spouses right now. And I think that's awesome. I think if it could be house hacking before spouses, it would be even more awesome too. Like it sounds like you're working to help teach women these things.
Hey guys, this is Jordan Moorhead here, and I wanted to ask if you could do a huge favor for me. If you could go leave a review for this podcast wherever you're listening to it, that would really help me get this into the hands of other people that are interested in information about Austin real estate investing, and I'd be able to help more people. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, well, the thing is that, yes, you're right. The house before spouse thing is really big, and I've read lots of articles about it. But something that's really interesting is that only 30% of people who invest are women, right?
Wow.
So, and we all know that there's still a wage gap. It's 82% that women are earning. So they have less money available to buy rental, to buy real estate or to invest or save or any of those things. And so, yeah, it's really pretty stark in a way, the sort of the disadvantages or just these differences between what men and women are doing. And so for me, it's very personal. I talked a little bit about what I went through, and I want to help women to be able to take advantage of this incredible thing, which is real estate investing. I feel like it's been completely critical to my well-being and success. So I want to help others, and I want them maybe not to have to suffer in some of the ways that I did.
Yeah, I think having a good solid base and understanding of finance and investing is just good for everybody, but I love that. So Abigail, we briefly touched on it. You said you kind of fell into the property management business. Was there any interest in real estate investing before that? Was there something that piqued your interest about it?
There really wasn't. I didn't know anything about it. When I first moved to Austin, I didn't even know that property management as a business existed. But because of my, husband at the time, it's something I learned about. And he had a business partner that business partner wanted out after 6 months. And I was in between jobs and I was like, man, how hard could this be? I'll help you out, right? Until you find somebody. And so he was doing the sales and whatever. He was doing the things he was doing. Supposedly I was just in the office, but then the phone would ring. And so then prospective clients were calling, and then I was just talking to them. And so it just really grew from there. And the interesting thing was we sold that business about a year after I got involved with it. And then we had a 3-year non-compete and we were managing our own properties. So between us, we had several more. And then after that non-compete, we started up again. We hadn't necessarily intended to, but it just worked out that way. And as the company was growing, bit by bit, I had actually started a completely different company in that interim. But as we were growing the property management company again, I was like, I like this more. Like, I want to do this. This is what I want to focus on. And I ultimately shut down that company and then kept going with this. And then we got divorced somewhere along the way. We actually continued to work together. And eventually, we were fine working together. But eventually, we just had different goals for the company in terms of how to run it or the size. We just wanted different things out of it. And he was a realtor doing buying and selling. And so he wanted to focus on that. And so I actually bought him out and it became, my sole thing. And I became a realtor at that point, which was, I think, 9 or 10 years ago at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think starting a property management company in Texas is harder than a lot of other states too, because you have to be a broker, but to get a broker's license in Texas, it's such a process. There's so many. I don't know how many hours was it when you did it. It's something like 900 hours now.
You know what? I'm actually not a broker. I was very fortunate to find a broker who was willing to take me on.
Oh, nice. That's the key. You found the smart way to do it. I'm interested I'm always interested in the business sale things, because a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of businesses, rather than ever selling, they just dissipate or close their doors. So what did that look like? How did you sell the business? I don't necessarily need to know specifics, but what was the sale based on, if you can remember? And
Yeah, I do
how'd that
remember.
go?
Yeah. So we actually got approached by a broker who was looking to add a property management company into the suite of services that they offered. And the timing was good for us. And so we were like, yeah, sure, we'll sell it. And so it's a multiple of the value of the contract that you have. So typically you have a year-long contract. And so it's, you'll make over the course of that contract X amount in management fees. And so it's a multiple of that. And it depends whether it's like 1x, 2x, 3x, kind of depends on the city you're in and other factors like that.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I had heard of people buying property management companies. I never really got too much information about how that was valued, but that's cool. So how many units were y'all at when you sold? Do you remember?
Yeah, we were pretty small. We only had 55 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you probably got a nice paycheck and were able to move on. And again, 3 years later, start a new one.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely, it was a nice thing. It was the right thing for us at the time, for sure.
Cool. That's awesome. Again, I always like to learn about businesses and what people are doing to be successful, and obviously selling them is, like we said, something that doesn't happen a ton. What would you say the biggest mistake you've personally made in real estate investing is, Abigail? Like something that you would tell other people, don't do this.
All right. Well, this is kind of maybe not the best answer, but honestly, I feel like not selling at the top of the market, I would say, or let's not even say the top of the market, because you can't time the market, but selling while the market was like super hot. I would say that was really my biggest mistake. I'm selling one of my properties now, and I'm just fully aware of what I can get now versus what I could have gotten, say, 2 years ago.
Yeah, but also selling, you always, like you said, you can't time the market. I sold one in 2020, and thought I was at the top of the market. And I looked back in 2023, or sorry, not 2023, early 2022, and said, wow, I could have gotten $100,000 more at this time if I would have waited. But it's hindsight's always 2020.
Yeah, I mean, it's just during the pandemic when things were going bonkers,
Mhm.
we were so crazy busy. I
Oh
mean,
man, yeah.
people were moving to Austin in droves, and just like with sales, it was exactly the same with rentals where, houses were just flying off the shelves. And there were some industries where like they weren't working necessarily, and we were just like gangbusters. And so it wasn't
Mhm.
it wasn't at all on my mind, but certainly I was aware like people selling right now are making great money. So
We
that's really I would say the regret.
we were essential workers. It was, it's still a very busy time for us. I
Yeah.
think I had one buddy, uh, a guy in a mastermind I'm in. When interest rates went down to where they went down to in 2020, he was standing up hollering. He said, "We got to buy everything. It's going to be crazy." Because he had paid attention to trends in the past and he saw interest rates bottom out really and said people are going to go nuts. They're moving to these areas like crazy. Let's just buy. And I think we will know in the future if we see that again. We see interest rates get down to something horrifically or crazy low, like 3% ever again, which I don't think we're going to see. But that would be a good signal to buy and just hold on for a year or two at least until prices go way up and then dump them and move on.
Exactly.
But again, you said it, you can't time the market. You can just look for indicators, and something like interest rates just going rock bottom again would be a good indicator that the real estate market would heat up quite a bit.
Indeed. Yeah.
Cool. So if you had to start over today, is there anything you do differently with the real estate investing side of things?
Have you wanted to be part of GoBundance, the tribe of millionaires, but just haven't hit that millionaire status yet? Well, now you can, not even being a millionaire, by joining our new program, GoBundance Emerge. My name's Jamie Gruber, creator of GoBundance Emerge and member of the GoBundance community. And now you can join. GoBundance.com/emerge, GoBundance.com/emerge. Use code Jordan for $100 off this 12-week goal-setting program and mastermind that'll propel you to being a whole life millionaire.
I honestly would have to say no. Now, that's not to say that I haven't made many mistakes
Mm-hmm.
and gone through many trials and tribulations, because I certainly have. But I feel that I've learned so much along the way, like incredibly valuable lessons. And honestly, I feel like I've come an incredibly long way. I talked about the divorce, and it was a tough time, and I afforded what I could afford, but I have more properties since then. I have this company that's thriving and growing. I'm doing very well, and so it's hard to have regrets, and especially when, like, honestly, we often learn from the toughest things that we go through. And I think, I'm part of a lot of property management online groups, and people say, "Hey, I'm going to start a property management company. What should I know?" And so some people like plan heavily, and that wasn't something that we did the first time around, or even the second time around. I was kind of learning as we go. And even though, yeah, sure, maybe we could have made our lives easier in certain ways, I'm not so sure we would have gotten started if
Yep.
we had to have mapped it all out, right? It's like we just got started and we just made it work and learned as we went. And I feel, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point. And I was reading a new book. Noah Kagan wrote it. He's in Austin somewhere. But he started a bunch of different businesses, and he says one of the biggest distinctions he sees between people who are successful and people who never make it is that they just get started. They start and they go and they figure it out later. And like you said, just by getting started, not only will you figure it out, but I think you will figure it out much faster than if you're just trying to plan and know everything and make sure everything is perfect before you get started. The window of opportunity may have left by the time you get started if you're just sitting around planning. At some point, you just got to do it.
Yeah. And the thing about property management is that it's not like you have to buy inventory. You don't have to have an office.
Mhm.
You just have to have your systems in place or know how you want to run it. And then you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And even with real estate investing, I mean, at some point, you just need to go buy a property. But real estate investing is such a time, it's time in the market. It's so I'm losing the word, time advantage. So the longer you're in it, the benefits just compound and compound and compound. Rents go up and values go up, and maybe your mortgage is able to go down. So if you bought a property recently and the numbers just barely worked, but you have an opportunity in 2, 3, 4 years to refinance at a lower rate, then it just gets way better. And over time, things get better and better and better. So eventually you have to get started, but you can't have any of those benefits and that success unless you get started investing. And I think that's the hardest part. You mentioned you wouldn't take back any of the mistakes or anything that happened. That's most people I talk to. They say, I've made a ton of mistakes. Yeah, I could start over and I would know more now, but if I hadn't have done those things, I wouldn't know what I know today.
Yeah. I do think that we learn learn the most from the mistakes or the hard times, for sure.
And
Yeah.
you only learn when you just get started and make it happen.
Yeah, and the thing is about getting started is there's a couple of things about that. One is that for people who want to become investors, and I mean, that's your focus, right? So
Mhm.
so you know this. It's like, first of all, surround yourself with a great team, right? You don't
Mhm.
have to know everything. That's your job as a realtor. That's my job as a property manager. Like, we'll make sure that you get the right property and that it's taken care of. But for people who are scared because they just don't know what they're doing, I think, just educate yourself. Take 3 months, 6 months until it starts to feel a little comfortable. I'm a big reader, so I get on a subject and then I read one book on it, and then it leads me to another and another and another. And I think, like, just read some books on real estate investing. Don't do anything yet. There's nothing you have to do. Just read until you feel like, okay, I now feel comfortable to actually take that next step. To have a sense of what I want and what I'm looking for. And yeah, my realtor is going to guide me and be like, this isn't going to get you what you want, or this layout is not what you want, or whatever it might be. There's still going to be so much more that and can help them with, but they'll start to, like, at least have that comfort. Because I know for a lot of people, buying a house is the biggest thing that they'll ever buy, and now buying an investment, it's like it's not even based on what are your personal preferences about the layout of the house or whatever. It's just kind of a different beast. And so I think having some level of comfort with that up front through education really helps.
Yeah, and that makes it so much easier to work with a realtor or broker too. When you know what your goals are and what you're looking for, maybe you don't know specifically, hey, I want this exact type of property in this area, but you say, hey, this is what I want it to do. These are the outcomes I'm looking for, or this is, let's say you're even buying a house. This is the type of area I want to live in and the type of house I would like. You need to have at least a framework. We work with a ton of investors, like you said, and I get people that call me all the time and say, and I'll say, oh, what do you want? I just want a good investment. I don't know what that means, because a good investment to me might not be a good investment to you. It depends on where you're at in life and what you're looking for, but most importantly, what your goals are. And when you know that, it makes everything so much easier. I love that advice.
Yeah, and it's really interesting too, because some clients of ours, they want a home that they would feel comfortable moving into. Like,
Mhm.
that just matters to them for some reason, even though they will never ever move into it. And
Mhm.
so that's not personally one of my criterion. Like, because I think that houses that can be amazing investments, they may not look at all. They may not be the class of house that I would want. They may not be anything like
Yeah.
anything I would live in, but they can be fantastic from an investment perspective. So it is really easy. Other thing I wanted to say is, because we do get a lot of our referrals from realtors,
Mhm.
And so sometimes those realtors are really well versed as you are in real estate investing, but sometimes not so much. And so we actually, we love to help those realtors so we can kind of be like a second eye on the property. So if they're working with a realtor, they'll send listings to us that their clients are considering, like, hey, will this make a good investment? Now we can run the numbers so we can look at it from that perspective. But then there's also like, is it a good neighborhood for investments? Meaning, are there other rental properties there? Is the house, is it a good layout, or is it just some weird quirky thing that is going to appeal to a very narrow, population, or is it maybe too big for the neighborhood, or other factors like, and we'll run comps, so that way it's like there, your client is basically getting a second realtor for no extra cost. We just like to help them because, I mean, we very much value the realtors who send us referrals. So we want to be able to give back.
That's awesome. And like you said something there too about looking at a house is two things at once. It's not always going to be the house you want to live in. It's the perfect investment property. And you alluded to this later in saying that house might be too big. And what I heard with maybe a house being too big is the rent's not going to change for the size of the house, but the price you pay for size, price per square foot, you pay more for finished square footage. So if a 1,500 square foot house or a 1,300 square foot house rents for 1,800, but then you bought a 2,200 square foot house and it's still rented for say 1,900, you had to pay considerably more for that house. That's not a good investment. You paid money for essentially square footage. It's not going to make you money. Where you could have paid less, 1,300 square foot house, it's going to make you the same money.
Exactly. And another factor as well is you want to appeal to the broadest population possible, because you want to get the best tenant. So you don't want 2 people interested in it. You want 20 people interested in it, right? And so there are more people who are going to want a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom than a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom. And so sometimes people think, well, it's a bigger house, it's going to be more appealing. And it's like, well, not really, not if you're charging more, not if the family doesn't need it, so you want to, like, most people want a 3-2, period, end of story. Like, that's just the way that it is. That's just information, having, leased hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of houses. That's just information. That's just stuff that you learn, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's factors like that as well. And that's why I say you don't want a quirky house because it's just not going to appeal as broadly as just sort of more of a cookie cutter layout.
Yeah, no, that's a great point too. You really have to serve the market rather than just buy what you want and hope it works out well.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
Sounds like you could be a great resource for somebody looking to purchase an investment property.
Jordan Moorhead here. Really quickly, wanted to tell you a couple other ways you can keep track of us. If you want to listen to all these podcasts and ask questions, the Moorhead team on YouTube is the best place to be. And then Austin Real Estate Investors on Meetup is a great place to keep track of all of our meetups we have going on.
I would certainly like to think so. I've been doing this a long time.
Abigail, what are long-term goals for your real estate investments? Where do you see your portfolio going over the future?
So for me, my portfolio is really tied into my business. So my goals, I have one of my properties on the market now, but I am looking to buy another property. So over time, I intend to buy a few more properties, not a ton, but a lot of my focus is actually on the property management business itself. My company actually manages my own properties, but just growing the company is a big focus for me, and being able to offer more services and help more and more women. And ultimately, like, I have this vision of creating a global community of women who are successful through real estate and supporting each other along the way.
That's cool. So you said you're looking for another property to purchase right now too. Anything specific you're looking for?
I'm probably going to buy a single family home this next time around. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think the properties that I own, I'm looking to buy something a little bit nicer this time than what I have.
Mhm.
And and I have my budget, and then I'll preserve X amount, so that I can renovate it as needed. So I'm just starting that process now.
Cool. Love that. Yeah, of course, they're easier to manage when they're nice properties in good areas. And you know that.
But
So,
my property is actually, like, I have B and C properties.
mhm.
Um, and I think that's actually oftentimes a very, very good way to go.
Oh yeah, I have all C plus. Affordable housing is really my passion. I think that not only is it something that's a lot of fun to do, and you can really provide great housing for people, but it can be very profitable too at the same time. So it can be a win-win-win.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
So I know we talked before we got started here. You're working on a product for attracting and retaining tenants. I think that attracting them, getting it rented as fast as possible, and then having as little turnover as possible is so important. So I'd like to understand more about that.
Yeah, so we want to, like, we're going to be launching it soon. And it's going to be a course that people can purchase to learn. There's a lot of different aspects that go into it. And so it has to do with the kind of property you buy. It has to do with how you take care of that property, what things matter during a make ready. Making sure that you're pricing it correctly, making sure you're doing like a proper background check. I mean, there's many, many different aspects of it. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, that will be a course that people can purchase. For anybody who's interested, we have on our website, we have a contact page, and then they can just let us know if they want to be put on the waiting list for when that launches.
Oh, cool. So this is more for people who are self-managing, it sounds like.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. So getting the insight from a property manager who's done it hundreds and hundreds of times on how you can do it yourself, that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is the majority of landlords self-manage. And
Mhm.
so if we're only offering services to people who want full property management, we're actually missing out on 70% of the market. So this is a way to be able to help them also. Something that I say is that what self-managing landlords don't know can be dangerous and costly to them. Costly because it could lead to lawsuits, dangerous because there could be liability issues. There's just a lot of things that self-managing landlords just don't know. And so over time, we'll develop more courses, but we want to start with something super basic, right? It's like right up front is, okay, well, I've got this property, I need to have tenants. Like, how do I make sure that I get the best tenants possible?
Yeah, basic but important. So important to understand those things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you so do you have an idea of when this course is going to be out?
It should be out this spring.
Oh, okay, so pretty soon.
Yeah.
Cool. And we'll put your website in the show notes too for anybody that wants to go inquire about this property management course. Uh, Abigail, do you have a favorite book you like to recommend?
I'm such a reader. I have lots of favorite books, but the one I
Mhm.
want to mention today is called The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins.
Yeah,
Have you read that book?
I have it. I've not read it. I
Okay.
saw we moved and I was putting books away on the bookshelf and I saw that and said, "Hey, I've been meaning to read that."
It really is the simple path to wealth. And so what I really like about it is it's very accessible, approachable. He makes it really easy. Like, you don't have to be a financial wizard. You don't have to understand everything about everything finances. He originally wrote it as like a letter to his daughter to help
Okay.
set her on the right path. And so there's just like a bunch of sort of rules or guidelines for how to, have wealth in a simple way. And so, I think the one that most people remember, if nothing else, is like, don't buy individual stocks, buy an index fund, then you're
Mhm.
capturing the entire market, things like that. But it's just I think really, really helpful. And as I said, it's like really accessible and approachable. So for people who are wanting to get their financial house in order, it's just a really, really good book. And he's it's very easy to read.
Isn't it crazy that none of this is taught? You have to seek it out and learn it. And sometimes it's, finding books like this where that should probably be taught in high school. Hey, this is a simple path to wealth.
Yeah. For sure. I 100% think that it should be taught. And I think not only is this kind of stuff not taught, but actually like women are taught even less, generally speaking, whether it's in their families or whatever. Like they didn't necessarily grow up with the expectation that they would be having to be in charge of their own finances. And so, yeah, I agree. It's crazy. I think the basics really are very, very simple. And if people get started young, I mean, what a difference. What a difference it can make.
And yeah, obviously start as young as you can. I think we're not taught these things, but we're taught, hey, you don't understand this. It's very complicated. Pay me to do it. And I think it was Money. Tony Robbins has a book called Money, Master the Game. And I was in my apartment up off 620, renting a room from somebody else. And I'm reading this book when I had my small retirement fund and didn't own any rental properties. And when I'm reading this book, and I figured out that my retirement advisor or whatever was taking 5% off the top. So every dollar I invested was actually only 95 cents. And then there was added fees. It ended up being something like 7% or so of the money I invested into this IRA was going straight into the company's pocket before it had a chance to compound. But with men and women and everybody reading these books and understanding investing, it's actually really simple. Just buy rental properties, buy ETFs, buy the simple stuff, hold on for the long term through the ups and downs, buy when other people are not buying, typically to get the best deals. And over a long period of time, you'll be extremely successful there too.
Yes, I agree with everything you said.
Yeah, but we're not taught this. We have to seek it out. And yeah, it's really interesting. I think there's, like you're coming up with courses to teach people how to self-manage rental properties, because you can do it wrong and not do a great job, but it's easy to learn the right things to do. It's so important to get financial education. So important.
Yeah. Yes.
Awesome. So I need to read that book now after you talked about it. But I love the premise. Is there a best way people can get a hold of you, Abigail, and learn more about you?
Yeah, so our website is the easiest way. It's SmartEgg Management MGMT. So SmartEggMGMT.com. And then I'm at Abigail at SmartEggMGMT.com.
Okay, Abigail at SmartEggMGMT.com. We'll make sure to get that into. And are you all on social media at all?
We are. We are in all the places you would think we are.
Awesome. And what is your Instagram handle for SmartEgg?
I am not sure, but
I would imagine at SmartEggMGMT, but we'll put it in the show notes just to be sure.
Okay, yeah, I'm actually not 100% sure what it is, but SmartEgg is one word. So if people were on Instagram and they search for SmartEgg properties, it will for sure come up.
Awesome. Well, I am at Jordan_Moorhead on Instagram. We will get SmartEgg Properties Instagram linked into the show notes. Abigail, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I love your mission, helping women be financially successful. And I love that you're building products to help people manage rental properties, because that's a huge market. And I think it's underserved too.
Well, thank you so much, Jordan. It's been great to be on this show. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thanks a lot. You too. Take care.